Over the past weekend and meeting with a lot of my constituents, I don't think there's been any issue that has gotten more attention and concern. As most of you know, I represent the Palm Springs area, which is probably one of the hottest areas in the country. The average temperature last week was about 122 degrees. And like many of your districts, I have a lot of people that are struggling to make ends meet, especially a lot of senior citizens that air conditioning is not a luxury for them. It's a necessity for them. And they have no choice but to keep their electricity on, and there is no question that should cap and trade be extended under the present bill, that their electricity rates are going to go up anywhere from 10 to 15%, and many of my senior citizens that have oxygen concentrators and nebulizer machines are going to have to make a choice of potential heat exhaustion, maybe taken into the hospital, choosing food, choosing medicines, or keeping their air conditioning on. There's a few things that we know for sure. Gasoline after 2021 could potentially go up to 63 cents a gallon. This after the SB1 taxes of approximately 20 cents a gallon. Our electrical utilities are going to go up. And while we do these things, what is the appreciable effect on carbon dioxide levels going to be in the nation, and if not the nation, the world? Most of our scientists say that California will contribute less than 1% to any type of appreciable global warming. And what a waste if we're going to get this money. 25% of the 60% that's collected right now is going to be automatically transferred to the governor's choo-choo train to nowhere, which we all know is not the best bang for the buck when the train is a net carbon producer, not a net carbon reducer. So why are we shifting billions of dollars to a train, frankly, that nobody wants, and frankly, nobody's going to ride? The good senator from Los Angeles says this is a historic vote. I agree. Because if it passes, and over time, we will have the gold medal for having the highest gas taxes in the country. We'll have the gold medal for the highest utility rates in the country. And we will have the gold medal for the highest population of homeless people in the country, because this, my friends, is going to drive more people into homelessness. And we talked about hundreds of thousands of new middle-class jobs that have been created by the green industry. I'd like to know where those jobs are. They're not in Riverside County. Yeah, we've had the origin of the HERO program, where we put solar panels on people's homes, and we built some solar farms in eastern Coachella Valley. There's jobs when you put those solar panels up, and then you hire 10 or 12 people to use Windex and just go clean them. That's the end of it. It's a one-time investment to help us add to the grid, to help us less be dependent on fossil fuels. This bill will allow ARB, number one, to set the rates for those credits. You're basically handing that responsibility over to the administration and out of the hands of the legislature. But here's what's very ironic. I know that most of you want to see our carbon footprint reduced in the state of California. But I've been told in our committee meeting, our environmental committee meeting, that when the maximum number of credits are sold, ARB can just turn around and sell an unlimited amount of credits, as long as those polluters are willing to pay the price. And that's when I pressed the author, the assemblyman from my area, please confirm with me that this, in fact, is a tax. And I'm very proud that he was very transparent and said, yes, it is a tax. What was interesting about this committee that I sat on was we had a lot of people from the Environmental Justice Committee that I know many of you respect that have grave concerns about this bill. Why is it that the 4 largest air quality management districts in the state of California remain opposed? They remain opposed for a number of reasons, because the state is going to set the standards that they're going to have to implement, and the only way they're going to be able to implement it is to raise their fees, which are going to make it more costly for our businesses and more costly for our residents. San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District opposed. South Coast Air Quality Management District opposed. My friends, this is going to make it much more expensive for people to live in California. In my district, people have to drive great distances to get to their jobs, and they're not going to be getting higher pay because they have to pay a couple $100s more a month to travel. We have some of the highest utility rates in my district that not just affect the elderly and the poor, but it affects the middle class, and it takes away disposable income that they're going to be having to support their families. We know that this plan doesn't expire till 2020, so what is all the urgency and the breaking of all the rules to try to get it to the floor? Could it be because the governor knows that revenues are down and he needs the August auction to deliver the $2.5 billion he's counting on to make our budget seem stable? Could it be because it's summer and he figures people just aren't paying attention to what's happening in Sacramento? This deal is a Christmas tree with ornaments bought and paid for by special interests who work behind closed doors to cut their own deals. Yes, many of these businesses, including oil companies and utilities, made their deal. That's why they've come on. Some of the biggest, largest contributing members to the California Chamber of Commerce are some of these same big businesses, and I would opine that the 80% of the small businesses that belong to the California Chamber are, in a way, kind of getting thrown under the bus with this legislation. Because many of these big companies will spend money and use other chemicals that they will emit to do one thing that this bill requires them to do, and that's to reduce their carbon footprint. That's why Central California Asthma Collaborative, Medical Advocates for Healthy Air, the Sierra Club, the Pacific Advocacy Group, Communities for a Better Environment, Center for Community Action and Environmental Justice. These are all colleagues and advocates on your side of the aisle that are telling you this is not a good bill. And to those that got their good deal, God bless them. But it's the small businesses that are not going to be able to afford and buy and sell credits at the auction, they're the ones that are going to continue to suffer. When are we going to learn that small businesses that generate most of the jobs are the real drivers to the economy, not only in the United States, but in the state of California? And that's why the National Federation of Independent Businesses is opposed to this bill. Blatantly speaking, this bill is a tax increase. The author of the bill even admitted it last week, as I mentioned. But after hearing from small business owners and regular people in my district who can't afford price increases to their gasoline bills, I'm here speaking on their behalf like you're here speaking on your constituents' behalf. The Legislative Analyst's Office has said that gasoline prices can go up by 73 cents a gallon after 2021, in addition to the 10-cent per gallon tax that already exists today in the name of reducing our carbon footprint. And for the people in my district that have to commute hundreds of miles a day, some of them, to get to their job, if they're lucky enough to even have one, this bill will cost them hundreds of dollars a year. These are people that are struggling to stay in the state of California. Counties like mine, where you have a large commuting population, are disproportionately hurt by legislation like this. In the hearing on this bill, the governor said this was the most important vote of our lives, and in some ways, I agree. We have a choice. We can keep raising taxes on the working families of California to pay for the governor's choo-choo train to nowhere, or we can say enough is enough and start using our precious tax dollars to fix our roads and bridges and use the real money that's brought forward through cap and trade and get the bang for the buck and reduce the carbon footprint instead of investing in a train that will create more carbon, not reduce carbon. We can't just keep increasing the cost of gasoline so that Just the rich and the rich liberal coastal elites who fly around the world in their private jets and talk about global warming, the ones that can afford it. Or we can start to focus on creating good-paying manufacturing jobs and keeping small businesses here in California competitive with their other state counterparts. This bill is just a way of stabilizing the carbon tax auction scheduled for August, so it pumps more money into the state budget that is failing because we're losing jobs. I keep hearing on the floor that we're the 6th largest economy, and I heard today that we're the 5th largest economy, and that's fine. Being the most populated state, I can attest that that's probably an accurate figure. But what's also important to note that while it takes a 2/3 majority vote to pass this tax, it will only take a simple majority to distribute these revenues. And what's interesting is that the revenues, according to our analysis, that we spend the money on do not even have to have a nexus to climate change. So you can use the money for anything that you want. So I can certainly understand why you'd be supportive of this bill today. Tell the families that I talk with every week who want to know why they can't get the services they've been promised from just our state government, instead of spending more time raising their taxes, making their lives just that much more challengeable here in our state. This bill is being rushed through to artificially boost our state budget, and we all know that that's the case. In June, personal income taxes were down 1.5% from projections. Corporate tax receipts were down 12.5% from projections. If the August auction fails, we'll likely lose another $2 billion, and that's the reason for the rush. My friends, this is a bad deal. It raises taxes on our working families. It increases energy costs on the working poor who struggle to make ends meet. It will force even more of our struggling families into homelessness. It gives special interest handouts without protecting small businesses who can't afford to participate in big government carbon auctions. It fails to protect the environment, hence why are so many environmental justice committees and organizations opposed? It's because ARB can sell as many credits as they want with polluters. All they have to do is pay the bounty. In the end, this is nothing more than a money grab from hardworking Californians, and this bill will have no impact, no appreciable impact on climate change in the world. With respect to all of our hardworking Californians, the poor, please don't vote yes for AB 98. Please vote no on AB 398.